Okay, ready to dive into something pretty intense today.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're talking women warriors, but not the kind you might picture right away.
No swords and shields this time.
More like where we're heading straight into the octagon.
Into the world of women's cage fighting.
Exactly. And to guide us, we've got this book, Fearless, by Conrad Riker.
It's really eye-opening. Riker dives deep into the history, the challenges, the triumphs.
Yeah, we'll be pulling excerpts from the book to really get a feel for what these women go through, not just the physical stuff.
Right, like the financial struggles, mental game, how they deal with injuries.
All that, and like how society views them.
It really makes you question a lot of assumptions we have about women and strength.
Okay, so let's start with like the historical context. How did we even get to women in the octagon?
Well, Riker starts by laying out how blatantly sexist the history of combat sports has been.
Oh yeah, for centuries, women were basically told to just watch from the sidelines.
Exactly. Like the Olympics, right? Women were straight up banned from competing for a long time.
And even when things started changing, it was slow.
Oh yeah, the UFC, which is like the top dog for mixed martial arts, they took their sweet time to include women.
It's almost as if they were afraid of what might happen if women were allowed to unleash their full power.
Right. And Riker uses this story about Kaneska, this Spartan woman.
Oh yeah, I remember reading about her.
She basically said, screw your rules to the ancient Olympic ban, and competed in equestrian events.
Can you imagine the guts it took to do that back then?
Seriously, talk about defining expectations.
It shows that the fight for equality in sports, it's been going on for centuries.
And it's definitely still going on today.
Okay, so one of the biggest stereotypes that Riker tackles is this idea that women are just too weak to be fighters.
Right, like it's just ingrained in us.
And I think a lot of people still believe it.
But Riker just dismantles that myth completely.
Yeah.
Like she talks about Ronda Rousey, who was a judo champion before she became a UFC star.
Oh yeah, Rousey completely changed the game. She proved that women could not only compete, but dominate.
Exactly, and Riker cites all these studies that show, with the right training, women can be just as strong as men.
So the whole weaker sex argument, total BS.
Exactly. The science just doesn't support it.
Okay, but even if we acknowledge that women are physically capable, what about the mental side of things? Cage fighting isn't just about brute force.
Totally. It takes incredible mental toughness to step into that cage.
Like, how do these women handle the pressure, the fear?
Well, Riker talks about the different mental techniques they use, like visualization.
Oh yeah, like picturing yourself winning.
Right, and mindfulness practices, meditation, stuff like that.
And a lot of them draw strength from their faith, too.
Yeah. There's this study Riker mentions from the Combat Sports Academy that found 70% of female fighters use some kind of spiritual practice in their training.
Wow, that's a lot.
Right? It shows you how important that mental and spiritual side is.
So they're not just training their bodies, they're training their minds and spirits, too.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach. And you need that to succeed in a sport as demanding as this one.
Okay, let's get real for a second, though. We can't talk about cage fighting without talking about the risk of injury.
Of course, it's a dangerous sport, no doubt.
Riker doesn't sugarcoat it either. She talks about everything from sprains and bruises to concussions and broken bones.
Yeah, it's serious stuff. And women actually face some unique challenges when it comes to injuries.
Like what?
Well, for one, there's a higher risk of breast injury.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think of that.
And some studies suggest women might take longer to recover from certain injuries than men.
So it's even tougher for them in some ways.
Right, but here's the thing. Riker doesn't just present these challenges as roadblocks.
What do you mean?
She flips the script. She argues that these unique challenges actually force women fighters to develop an even deeper understanding of their bodies.
Oh, so it becomes a strength.
Exactly. They have to adapt their training, learn to listen to their bodies even more closely.
And they develop this incredible resilience because of it?
It's like they turn adversity into an advantage.
So they're not just overcoming physical limitations, they're pushing the boundaries of what's possible for women in this sport.
Exactly. It's really inspiring.
Okay, so we've talked about the physical demands, the mental toughness, but let's not forget about the systemic barriers that women face in this field.
Yeah, we can't ignore the intersection of race, class, and gender. It plays a huge role.
Riker dedicates a whole chapter to this in her book.
And she shares the story about a black woman fighter who was told she was too pretty to fight.
Seriously, even in a sport as brutal as cage fighting, they're still judging women on their looks.
It's messed up, right? But this fighter, she used that prejudice as fuel. She channeled that anger into her training.
Good for her.
It shows you the kind of strength and resilience these women have.
But it also highlights how much harder it is for women of color in this field.
Absolutely. And then there's the financial side of things. Riker breaks down how much it actually costs to train and compete, and it's not cheap.
Yeah, I'm sure gym memberships alone can be pretty pricey.
Oh, yeah, but it's not just that. It's equipment, travel expenses for competitions, specialized coaching.
So it adds up fast.
Riker estimates that the average female fighter spends around $4,000 a year just on training-related costs.
Wow, so it's not just about passion and dedication. You need resources too.
Right, and for a lot of women, especially working-class women, it can be a real struggle to balance training with jobs and family responsibilities.
Yeah, it's not a level playing field for everyone.
Definitely not. And that's where the need for sponsorships, financial aid, and support systems becomes even more crucial.
So it's not just about individual strength, it's about creating a system that supports women in this field.
Exactly. We need to address these systemic barriers if we want to see real equality.
Okay, so we talk about a lot of the challenges, but let's talk about the positive stuff too. Riker highlights the incredible support networks that women fighters have built for each other.
Yeah, like there's been this huge rise in female coaches in the sport.
Oh, that's great to hear.
The International Combat Sports Association says there's been like a 50% increase in female coaches over the last decade.
It makes sense though, right? Having someone who understands your experience, someone you can relate to, can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. And studies show that having a female coach can actually improve athletic performance in female athletes.
No surprise there. And beyond the technical expertise, female coaches often provide mentorship and support that goes way beyond just training.
It's like a sisterhood, you know.
And then there's the rise of women-owned gyms, which are creating these incredibly supportive and inclusive environments for female fighters.
Yeah, it's awesome to see women taking ownership and shaping the future of the sport.
So it's not just about fighting, it's about building a community.
Exactly. And Riker emphasizes that it's not just about the fighting itself either.
What do you mean?
Women are making their mark in all aspects of the business side of things, like coaching, promoting, managing.
So they're not just athletes, they're entrepreneurs too.
Right. She tells this story about Jennifer Alden, a former fighter who started this all-female fight promotion company called Lioness Combat.
That's amazing. Talk about breaking barriers.
It shows you the possibilities, you know? Women can be successful in every aspect of this industry.
And speaking of breaking barriers, let's not forget about the trans women who are competing in cage fighting.
Yeah, they're really pushing the boundaries of what it means to be a woman warrior.
Riker talks about Fallon Fox,
Yeah.
one of the first openly transgender women to compete professionally in MMA.
And she faced so much backlash, you know, like unfounded accusations of having an unfair advantage.
But she didn't let it stop her.
It just fueled her fire. She kept fighting, kept proving herself.
It's such a powerful story of resilience and determination.
And it ties back to this larger theme of shattering limitations, right? Not just physical limitations, but societal ones too.
It's about expanding our understanding of what it means to be a woman, to be an athlete, to be a warrior.
Exactly. And creating a sport and a world where everyone has the opportunity to compete on a level playing field.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but there's still so much more to unpack. We'll take a quick break and be right back to continue this deep dive into the world of women's cage fighting.
And it's not just about individual men speaking out either.
Right, it's about the media too and how they portray these athletes.
Exactly. Riker makes this great point about how media representation can really shape public perception.
Like for a long time, the focus was all on the physical attributes of female fighters.
Oh yeah, it was all about sex sells, you know.
Instead of showcasing their skill, their athleticism, they were reduced to their looks.
It's like they were trying to fit them into this box, you
Okay.
know? Like,
Yeah.
you can be a fighter, but you also have to be sexy.
And that just perpetuates all these harmful stereotypes.
Totally. And it undermines the legitimacy of the sport.
But Riker argues that things are starting to change, thanks in part to women like Rousey and Cyborg.
Yeah, they refused to play that game.
They demanded to be recognized for their talent, not their bodies.
And they were so dominant the media couldn't ignore them.
So now we're seeing more coverage that focuses on the athleticism, the strategy, the stories behind these women.
It's about time, right?
It's about recognizing them as the elite athletes they are.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about the future of women in cage fighting. Riker seems pretty optimistic about what's to come.
Yeah, she sees a lot of potential for growth, for greater acceptance, for opportunities beyond the cage.
She even talks about the possibility of women-only leagues, and tournaments.
That would be amazing.
Right, it would give them even more control over the sport.
They could set their own rules, have their own weight classes.
It would be a powerful statement about the value of women's cage fighting as its own entity.
Totally.
Riker also talks about the need for female-specific training programs.
Yeah, not just to address the physical differences, but also to create a more supportive and empowering environment.
Where women can train together, learn from each other, support each other.
Exactly. Mentorship is so crucial.
And she advocates for greater financial transparency in the sport.
Right, like where's the money going?
Women fighters deserve to know.
It's about fairness, about building trust, about creating a more sustainable future for the sport.
So we talked about the physical side, the mental side, but there's another aspect Riker explores in depth, the spiritual side of cage fighting.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting.
She talks about how many female fighters draw strength and resilience from their spiritual beliefs.
It's not necessarily about organized religion.
More about finding a sense of purpose, a connection to something bigger than themselves.
Yeah, like tapping into that inner warrior, that unyielding spirit.
She shares stories about women who pray before fights, meditate to calm their minds, use rituals in their training.
It's about finding what works for them, what gives them strength.
Riker even argues that spirituality can be a tool for healing, especially for women who've experienced trauma.
Cage fighting becomes a way for them to reclaim their bodies, confront their demons.
This powerful stuff.
It is. And that empowerment, it extends beyond the cage, you know?
They gain confidence, self-worth, resilience.
It's about breaking free from those limitations that society puts on women.
What stood out to you the most about Riker's exploration of this spiritual side?
I think it was the diversity of beliefs and practices, you know? It's not about one right way.
Right, it's about finding what resonates with you, what gives you strength.
Exactly.
Okay, let's circle back to the importance of male allies for a minute.
This is where Riker challenges some assumptions.
It's easy to fall into that trap of thinking it's us versus them, men versus women.
But she argues that men can and should be active supporters.
Like she talks about Edmund Tarverdyan, Ronda Rousey's coach.
Yeah, he was a huge influence on her.
And Scott Coker, one of the first promoters to really champion women's fights.
And even Conor McGregor, as controversial as he can be, has been vocal about advocating for women in the UFC.
It shows that there are men out there who get it, who see the value in women's cage fighting.
And who are willing to use their platform to create change.
It's a reminder that this isn't a battle of the sexes. It's about creating a more inclusive and equitable sport for everyone.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about a topic that often sparks debate: the participation of trans women in combat sports.
This is where things get really interesting, I think.
Riker doesn't shy away from it. She discusses Fallon Fox's story, a trans woman fighter who faced so much backlash.
It was brutal.
People accused her of having an unfair advantage, which Riker debunks.
Yeah, she points out that hormone replacement therapy levels the playing field.
And excluding trans women just goes against the whole spirit of inclusivity.
It's discriminatory, plain and simple.
It's about recognizing trans women as women, period.
And creating a space where everyone can compete fairly and safely.
Riker also highlights how important representation is for young trans athletes.
Seeing someone like Fallon Fox succeed can be so inspiring.
It sends the message that they belong, that they could achieve their dreams.
That they don't have to limit themselves because of other people's prejudices.
Okay, we've discussed a lot of positive developments, but let's be real, there are still systemic challenges.
Absolutely. Women still face barriers in this field, from pay gaps to sexism.
And those issues are compounded for women of color and working class women.
The intersectionality of it all, it creates even more obstacles.
But Riker believes change is possible.
She advocates for policy changes, increased sponsorship opportunities, more equitable structures.
It's about building a strong community of support, inside as outside the sport.
Women supporting each other, mentoring each other.
And men stepping up as allies, challenging sexist attitudes, pushing for change.
It's about recognizing that the fight for equality in cage fighting is part of a much bigger fight for social justice.
Exactly. It's all connected.
And it's about creating a future where every woman who steps into that cage feels safe, respected, valued for her skill and dedication.
Riker ends the book with this thought-provoking question. What about the impact of all this, outside the cage?
You mean like the ripple effect?
Yeah, can the success of these athletes translate into broader societal change?
Can they inspire us to break down barriers in other areas of our lives?
Can their resilience fuel a larger movement for equality?
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
If these women can achieve so much in a sport, as demanding as cage fighting? What's stopping us from doing the same in other areas?
It's about taking inspiration from their courage, their determination,
Recognizing that we all have that inner warrior, that fighter inside of us.
and using that strength to create a world where every woman can live freely, fearlessly.
We'll be back in a moment to finish up this deep dive. But until then, think about this. How can we each contribute to smashing that cage of oppression, not just in sports, but in all aspects of our lives? It's a question worth wrestling with. And we're back, diving deep into the world of women's cage fighting. Still with us is Conrad Riker's Fearless to guide our conversation.
It's been a wild ride so far, right?
Seriously, from the history to the personal stories, really makes you think.
Riker really captures like the essence of these women warriors.
So as we wrap things up, let's highlight a few key takeaways. Things we really want our listeners to walk away with.
Sounds good.
First off, can we finally put to rest this whole myth that women are too weak for cage fighting?
I mean, come on. Riker just shreds that idea to pieces.
Right, like we talked about Rousey, Cyborg. These women are dominating the sport.
And the science is clear. Women can be just as strong as men.
So anyone still clinging to that weaker sex nonsense, it's time to let it go.
Seriously, it's outdated and just plain wrong.
Which brings me to my second point. We need to step up our support for these women.
100%. Equal pay, equal opportunities, that's the bare minimum.
Right. And let's not forget about challenging those sexist attitudes that still linger.
Oh, yeah, we need to call that out whenever we see it.
We need to create a culture where these women feel valued, respected.
And that support needs to go beyond just individuals.
What do you mean?
Like, we need systemic change, policy changes that actually address the root causes of inequality.
So it's not enough to just cheer for our favorite female fighters. We need to advocate for real change.
Exactly. We need to be active participants in this fight for equality.
Okay, my third takeaway, and this is a big one. The fight for equality in combat sports is a fight for equality everywhere.
It's all connected, right?
Exactly. It's about breaking down gender norms, stereotypes, all that.
It's about recognizing that women's rights are human rights.
And that we all have a responsibility to fight for justice.
It's a collective effort, no doubt.
Now, before we wrap up completely, I want to touch on that thought-provoking question that Riker leaves us with.
You mean the one about the ripple effect?
Yeah, like, can the success of these women in cage fighting actually lead to broader societal change?
Can they inspire us to break down barriers in other areas of our lives?
It's a question we all need to wrestle with, I think.
Because if these women can achieve so much in a sport as demanding as this, what's stopping us from doing the same in other fields?
It's about tapping into that inner warrior that we all have.
And using that strength to create a world where everyone can thrive.
If you're feeling fired up, and I know I am, I highly recommend checking out Fearless by Conrad Riker.
It's a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the journey of these incredible athletes.
You can find it on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.
And let's not forget, the fight for equality is far from over.
But we have the power to shape the future.
So let's step out of that metaphorical cage and into the world.
Ready to fight for our rights, our dreams, and a more just society.
Let's make some history.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of women's cage fighting. Until next time, stay fearless.